This is Digimon Rumble Arena. It was released in 2001 for the original PlayStation, and even if you've never played it, Rumble Arena definitely looks familiar to you because this is Super Smash Bros., which debuted 2 years earlier in 1999 for Nintendo's wildly popular N64. The similarities are so obvious they're barely worth mentioning, but what is worth mentioning is just how tragic it is that Smash went on to be one of the most successful gaming series of all time, while all knowledge of Rumble Arena has been practically wiped from the real and digital world. But before we get too deep into the details, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Nerdstalgic Gaming for more videos like this one. After nearly 30 years, the OG Smash Bros. Feels admittedly outdated through a modern gaming lens, with its sharp-edged polygons, flat textures, and hilariously low-res JPEG backgrounds. But no amount of graphical depreciation can disguise the sheer gameplay greatness on display. This multiplayer platform fighter was the crossover event of the century for Nintendo fans. Finally, you could settle the sibling rivalry between Mario and Luigi, or watch Pikachu get spiked by Donkey Kong. The novel idea of pitting your favorite characters against each other was strengthened by fast-paced, combo-focused, arcade-style fighting mechanics, clever maps, and the newfangled objective to kick your opponents off the screen rather than simply knocking them out. It was more than an instant hit. It changed the landscape of the industry. Smash's contributions to the broader fighting game scene were as obvious back in 1999 as they are today, and other companies immediately took notice. At the turn of the millennium, a phenomenon emerged as countless Smash wannabes flooded the market in a flagrant attempt at becoming the next big thing. Today, we call these games Smash clones, but the more technical terminology would be rip-offs. Many of these Smash clones have been forgotten by time, either because they couldn't hack it in a versus match against Nintendo's iconic character roster, or just because they were cheap knockoffs made entirely to bank off of Smash's success. When directly compared to their not-so-subtle inspiration, these games were often lazy, unbalanced, or severely lacking in gameplay modes, but Digimon Rumble Arena was all of those things. Yeah, let's not let our nostalgia goggles blind us to the truth here. All the worst accusations you could throw at a Smash clone were present in this game. It was grating to listen to, the music tracks were short, low quality, and looped incessantly, the sound effects were mind-numbingly repetitive, the controls weren't as responsive as they should have been, and the most egregious of Rumble Arena's sins was the total disregard for balanced gameplay. Basically, it was a cash grab through and through. Bandai's Digimon-branded platform fighter was unapologetically derivative, and that allergy to originality makes sense for a property which itself began as a facsimile of Pokemon, with built-in Tamagotchi-esque merchandise. Rumble Arena wasn't all bad though. While players were limited to only 2 fighters per match, the game boasted twice the amount of characters Smash did. 9 Digimon were available from the start, and there were an additional 15 unlockables for a grand total of 24. And while most of the maps were painfully basic, there were 1 or 2 that actually had something interesting going for them. Then there were the 3 minigames which were absolutely playable. Your mileage probably varied on how much you enjoyed them based on how old you were and whether you had an older sibling with a more developed sense of hand-eye coordination. But what really stood out about Rumble Arena was the same thing that stood out about the Digimon franchise, Digivolution. Outside of the fact that Digimon are complicated characters capable of speaking human languages, their biggest draw is that they are able to evolve and devolve again, reverting back to their cute pocket monster-sized selves. This gives them a distinct edge over Pokemon, or at least it did in the early 2000s before Pokemon blatantly ripped off their whole shtick. In Rumble Arena, Digivolutions acted as temporary power-ups, and since the character designs were strong and the movesets looked and felt awesome, the gimmick was enough to catch the attention of a lot of players, though only for a short time. Digimon Rumble Arena received middling reviews from critics who largely and rightfully compared it to Smash Bros. Clearly, there was potential here. It was the perfect bargain bin game for kids that didn't own a Nintendo console, but it wasn't pushing any boundaries. Bandai wasn't interested in doing more than the bare minimum in their attempt to ride Smash's coattails. And hey, that might have been the end of the story if not for another little 2001 title, which was released just a month before Rumble Arena. If the original Super Smash Bros. Laid the foundation for a subgenre of platform fighters, Melee built the house for generations of those games to live in. It was beloved right from the moment it arrived on GameCube, and remains a popular choice for competitive play today. The fights were faster, the mechanics were easy to grasp but difficult to master, it looked, felt, and sounded better than its predecessor, which had already garnered heaps of critical acclaim and profit. So, of course, Melee only inspired the production of more clones. And Bandai and Digimon were leading the charge, getting ready to take another swipe at success. 2004's Digimon Rumble Arena 2 was by all accounts a great time. Released on the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, Rumble Arena 2 certainly looked the part of a next-gen game in the early aughts. It sported smoother textures, brighter colors, detailed character models, realistic physics, and destructible environments. No longer resigned to two-player mode, the second Rumble Arena offered full four-player capabilities. The controls were polished, it sounded better, and the balancing issues were left, mostly unaddressed. While there were fewer unlockable characters, there was a wider selection of game modes, and it was, like Melee, an all-around better experience compared to what came before. Once again, the star of Rumble Arena 2 was its Digivolution mechanic. In case it wasn't obvious, the concept of Digivolving was basically built for arcade-style video games, and this concept inherent to the Digimon franchise truly shined its brightest here. With the positive tweaks made to the graphics and gameplay of Rumble Arena 2, the Digivolutions were more fun than ever. Frantically trying to beat your friends in the race to Digivolve added an extra layer of challenge to regular matches where you were already being bombarded by chaotic event-style items which spawned on each map. But at the end of the day, it was still just a copy of Melee, made with fewer resources and a single fun gimmick. It was a cheap alternative, and it wasn't enough. Like the first game, Rumble Arena 2 received lukewarm reviews, with most people unable to divorce it from the new genre standard. And I mean, what did Bandai expect when they explicitly set out to cash in on Melee's success? Smash had cemented itself as the de facto platform fighting series, and Digimon Rumble Arena was left behind just like all the other clones of the era. In the modern age, there's no way to purchase a legitimate digital copy of either Rumble Arena game. Neither of them have been ported to current hardware, so if you really want to play, you'll have to pick up a disc from eBay and dust off your old PlayStation, GameCube, or Xbox, or go the emulator route. And since most of us lost our old consoles to garage sales over a decade ago, that makes the Rumble Arena series borderline lost media, and it certainly won't be getting any attention from new generations of players. But of course, that doesn't mean Digimon is dead. Over the years, there have been numerous TV shows, movies, RPGs, action-adventure games, and even an MMO. And many of these games offer original ideas or at least substantial riffs on existing ones. I mean, hell, the most recent release, Digimon Story Time Stranger, even shows up some more modern Pokemon games in terms of its animation and story. But the last time the franchise tried its hand at a fighting game was back in 2014, when another wave of clones was cropping up in response to Smash coming to the 3DS and Wii U. Bandai's limp attempt was called All-Star Rumble, and it was met with poor reviews for its simplistic gameplay and absence of an online multiplayer mode. It was frankly embarrassing, and it only reinforced the pattern they put in place back in 2001. Despite being uniquely suited to the genre, Digimon never truly went all in on an arcadey fighting game. They made it clear with the first Rumble Arena that they were only interested in rehashing their biggest competitors' ideas. And well, there really is no competing with Smash. If you want to stand out in the figurative arena, you have to lean into what makes you different. That's why games like Brawlhalla and Rivals of Aether, while supporting significantly smaller communities, have managed to carve out a solid niche, while so many other Smash clones have fallen to the wayside, Rumble Arena included. And that's kinda tragic, because it didn't have to be this way. Rumble Arena had this illusory, unique quality in its Digivolution mechanic. Once you finally got your chance at playing as War Greymon or Metal Garurumon, there was a special sort of euphoria that accompanied those brief moments of ultimate power that not even Smash Bros. Melee could replicate. It was magic, but they squandered it. Even with its well-earned reputation as a copycat, there's a charm to Digimon that has kept the franchise alive for decades. Not off the back of its influences, but off its own merit, and we've seen it work with other game genres too. If Bandai had invested a little more time into balancing the games, creating some more interesting maps, refining those mini-games, and distinguishing itself from Smash, Digimon Rumble Arena might have been an enduring series instead of a forgotten relic that really only exists in the memories of players. But at least those memories are fond ones. And well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to let us know by hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing to Nerdstalgic Gaming so you don't miss what we put out next.